Sometimes may given da sa ina nga problem nga duwa, may ara sang English system, may ara sang metric system. Pero ang iya ginapangita is metric system nga unit. Tanan, i-convert mo ang imo nga English system nga unit into metric system. For example, from inches, i-convert mo na into millimeter. Dapat kabalo ka na magkuha sang conversion. Nga 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. 3.28 feet is equal to 1 meter. And 1,000 millimeter is equal to 1 meter. Amo na, mga basic na siya nga dapat kamo fourth year, paglabot fifth year, paglabot na pag-graduate nyo, mga amo na mga conversion, kabalo na kamo na iya dapat. So, make sure nga masaulo nyo na ang mga basic conversion units sang ginausar ta di sa aton nga A struct 2. And sa pagid nga error, ang iba hindi kabalo kung ano ang unit kung 4 na ka inches or 3 ka inches nga gina-multiply. Kung magsiling ka area, ang imo nga unit is unit exponent 2. Kung magsiling ka volume, ang imo nga unit is unit exponent 3. And kung magsiling ka naman moment of inertia, ang iyaya nga unit is exponent 4. So dapat kabalo ka na isa-isa ko yung gina. So refresh ka mo subong, pag-summarize ka mo sang inyong mga conversion da, and himo ka mo index card. Ang purpose na para at least anytime kaklase taya online, may ara na kamo hawid. And photographic mind, ang isa ka tao, once every time ginalantaw ya ang ini iyay sulat, masaulo yan na sa mind ya lang, hindi gid nga sa ulado. Pero ma-picture out ya kung anong iyagin pang sulat. So amo na recommend ko sa inyo, mahimo ka mo index card, summarize ka mo sa mga formulas or conversion.
Dito na makagamit, no?
Sa aton diri nga klase.
Quiz
Para at least may ara na kamo idea, and every time mag kamo mangita to sa libro para lang or master sa Google para lang mag sa ulo sang formula or conversion. Okay, so amo na ang aton niya nga mahatag nga tip para sa inyo. Kay tungod kaya na ta sang face to face. Next, ang aton nga references, Ariola, Structural Analysis for Engineers or Architects. So, kung mayara ka mo, much better. Kaya tungod, gina-applyan ni ang ini nga mga problems into a combination sa mga architecture and engineering nga problem. Next, we have Bisabilia, Structural Engineering and Construction, Volume 3. Ang ini, hopefully, ang iban may ara sang libro ni Bisabilia nga iyan sang engineering sa civil. Pero kung may ara ka muna previously, nausar nyo na sa engineering mechanics inside 1, strength of materials inside 2, theory of structures A struct 1, ang atong subong nga A struct 2, timber design and steel design. And ang masunod nga SEM amo na ang A struct 3, which is concrete design. Ara na da kay Bisabilia nga libro. So dako gina siya bulig sa tanan sa engineering man kag sa architecture, especially kung naga-eskwela pa kamo. Next, we have Breyer, Design of Wood Structures, Parker, Simplified Design of Structural Wood, and Singer, Ferdinand Singer, which is amo ni ang aton nga libro sa aton nga Insight 2. Nga agin pakita ko ni kay nga atong share and moment diagram dito ni kuwaon. And typically ari ginadi ang tanan nga mga problem. Okay. Next, we have ang aton nga further readings para sa aton nga online or Google. Ang typical ta gina ara gina makita dayon ang matalino.com. And specifically ang tanan din nga problem sa strength of materials ara na da sa kay matalino.com. Ara man ang theory of structures and ang aton nga timber and steel design. Sa timber hindi gid siya tam-an kadamo pero sa steel ara ang iya nga mga problems. So pwede gid ko ka-recommend sa inyo in advance nga i-check nyo ang aton nga mga question or problem sa matalino.com. In preparation na liwat
Yan,
para sa
basta
aton nga
ano?
face-to-face nga
Pasek?
exam and quiz. And the rest amo na ni
Convention.
ang aton nga further
Visit ni
readings.
Puga.
Plus sa YouTube may mga video na da related
Nag-YouTube.
sa sini nga topic. So kung share in moment diagram, pwede ka gid
Mas
kakadto
gets
sa
naman ng mga Arabo.
YouTube.
Wala.
Damo ginada sang example and problem solving nga may solusyon kung paano mag-solve sang share and moment diagram. Okay? So that's it. Amo na ang aton orientation para sa aton A struct 2. Any question, clarification, or anong inyo nga i-add sa inyo nga A struct 2? So far, wala. Intindihan? Okay. Para medyo gaanta ka mo boost para dumambal ka mo. Sige mas study na kami Kay tungod nag-start na ta, aton nga prelim, ika-third week ta na no? First lesson ta pala.
Screenshot mo na.
Tungod lang sang holiday last
Screenshot mo
week.
siya.
And another week to nga dapat orientation to siya. Okay. Sa subong, para happy ka mo, ang aton nga quiz number 1, mahimo lang siya anay online. Okay?
Online.
Ganta ka mo tsansa. For prelim lang gidya alone.
Midterm.
Okay?
Final. GG.
Pero gusto ko, solve ka mo. In preparation gidya sa exam. Nga ginaliwat-liwat ko ni. Kay for 9 years, except 2 years, ikuhaan ko lang ang 2 years nga puros online. For 7 years nga naggatudlo ko sa architecture, ang kalabanan gidya nga score during exam, wala kalabot 50 points out of 100. Kalabanan, 10, 20. Ang pinakataas na nakisa 60 or 70 points out of 100.
Kiputo gani yung line of 9 years sila
May ara gani 0.
Manag-perfect sila yan ni
Take note, may 0.
Carla.
Amo na, kung mamangkot ka mo sa iban na nakagraduate
Mas
na,
taas pa sila kay Angelina.
kapalugin na sila, nga gapang lagbong kuya.
Doy man.
Nga ga-base lang kuya bala sa face asa inyong papel. Kay tungod online last time, wala ko choice. Kabalo ko nga hindi na siya nag-solve. Pero kay tungod gin-submit as iya, i-checkan ko na. Pero kabalo ko nga wala na siya nag-solve. Pero pasado siya. Kay tungod may proof nga may ara kaya gin-pass. Ang subong niya, ang proof lang niya, kay tungod may face-to-face ta, kung ano imo sulat sa papel, amula na ang mahatag nga score. Kung wala ka isulat, sigurado 0 ka gid. Amo na nga damo gid lagbong, especially kung face to face. Pasalamat lang gid kamo tanan nga nag-college bala kay naka-skip na. Ano man na nang hindi man lang kamo pati gani ang duwa ko di ka bata amo man. Grabe ang ila subong struggle para lang maka-cope up isang lesson nga natapos na. Tapos na ha. Pero subong ginaliwat pagkid tuon. Katungod syempre online. So ang ako ng advantage nga nakita subong nga blended, mas nami ni siya bala nga ang lesson ara na sa case ko naka-video. During sa atong lesson, gina-explain pa gid. Do pares man nagyapon naka face to face ka. Then, pwede kaya kapangita source sa Google. Pwede kapag gidya kakopya kung ano da ang pwede mo makopya. Pero, nami gidya nga ang imo yung output based sa exam is face to face. Kay, dira mo na iya mahambal nga matuon ko. kay kabaluta nga kung hindi ka magtuon, wala ka na sang iban nga source. Wala ka na Google, wala ka na sang libro nga pwede mo malantaw. Kay tungod ang ini nga mga problem sa aton nga A-straka, hindi man ko pwede kahimo lang nga
Kibot
baguhon
ko.
ko.
Ito?
Gabasi man kuya
Kibot, pinig ko
sa
nagdano na
given
kibot.
na sa mga
Nagkatulog
libro,
ko.
sa mga
Nara ka, magdamo ka
given na ara
manawat?
sa Google. Ginaliwat ko lang.
Ano ko joke?
Ginaliwat, gina
Oo.
interchange, gina baliswa ko lang na. Pero tutuod, the same lang na siya gyapon. So kung kabalo ka mag-solve kay tungod may nakitaan ka nga problem nga lapit-lapit, tun-a in preparation sa face-to-face nga exam. Amo lang nila ang mahatag ko sa subong nga samtang way patagasugod. Mambal ka mo nga kaano man kay sa maliwat-liwat, hindi. Kay kabalugit kuya, samtang galakat ang inadlaw, damo ka mo obra, especially damo na kamo plates. Tidungangan pa ni nga ma face-to-face ka mo sa aton nga structo. So amo na nga once ka lesson tadi, pamati gid. Ask question whether naka-off cam ara sa aton nga GC or personal ko nga GC or sa aton nga sa akon nga messenger, pwede gid kay para at least na iya sa inyo. And malay mo, ikaw nga hindi kabalo, mas damo pag hindi pagid kabalo. So kay nag-question ka, nakabulig ka pa to sa nahuya mag-ask question. Intakto man, ang imuon ta subong interaction. Ano lang, do kumbaga, sir, hindi ko sir kabalo, sir, pwede mo sir ma-explain liwat. Okay gina, may time ta subong nga aton nga semester. Nami ang kusang time ta subong kay tungod 3 hours. So pwede taya ka pa hinahinay, pero at least may makuha ka mo yung information. Okay? Sige. Okay na, wala na? Kung wala, let's go sa aton nga first lesson ta, amo ni ang aton nga review sa aton nga share and moment diagram. Kabalo ka mo ni salig kuya sa inyo
Ano sa nung sinong cry? Cry and
Okay, let's start. Introduction. The determination of the internal force system acting at a given section of a beam. Draw a free body diagram that exposes these forces and then compute the forces using equilibrium equations. We will be dealing with summation of forces along y equate to 0, or summation of forces along x, which is also equal to 0, or summation of moment at a certain support or point and equate it to 0. The goal of the beam analysis: determine the shear force V and the bending moment M at every cross-section of the beam. So we will be solving the shear force and bending moment at a certain point in the cross-section of the beam, and we will determine also the maximum shear force and maximum bending moment. To derive the expressions of V and M in terms of the distance x measured along the beam. By plotting these expressions to scale, obtain the shear force and bending moment diagrams for the beam. The shear force and bending moment diagrams are convenient visual references to the internal forces in a beam. In particular, they identify the maximum values of V and M. Consider a simple beam shown of length L. From point A to point B is a distance L that carries a uniform load of W, which is in Newton per meter. From A to B, we have a uniform load of W throughout its length and is held in equilibrium by reactions R1 and R2. So R1 is at support A, which is a ruler, while R2 is at support B, which is a hinge. So A combination of two supports with a ruler and a hinge is a determinate beam, and we can find the value of R1 and R2 automatically using the summation of forces or the equilibrium equations. Assume that the beam is cut at point C, a distance of x from the left support, which is a distance from A to C is x, and the portion of the beam to the right of C be removed. The portion removed must then be replaced by a vertical shearing force V, this one, which is opposite to the direction at 1, with a couple moment M to hold the left portion of the beam in equilibrium under the action of R1 and Wx. Couple M is called the resisting moment or moment, and the force V is called the resisting shear or shear. The sign of V and M are taken to be positive. They have the senses indicated above. Task 1. Write shear and moment equations for the beams in the given problem. Let x be the distance measured from left end of the beam. Also, draw shear and moment diagrams specifying values at all chains of loadings or loading positions and at points of zero shear. Neglect the mass of the beam in each problem. So here's the diagram. And at point B, which is the support, we have a reaction and designated as vertical point. And this is RB. While at point D, which is a ruler, and the reaction along Y is RD. And we have also RBX.
Yes,
Okay, ma-review ko anay kadali Ang ari sa aton nga diagram is a hinge support at point B and a ruler at point D. Okay. Pila ka unknown ang ara sa aton nga hinge nga support? Sino maka-answer? Anyone? Pila ka unknown values ang ara sa aton nga hinge nga support? Yes. Si JV nag-answer 2. Okay, sino tong isa na hands up?
Off-cam na lang si Carla.
JV? Okay. Kung duwa, ano na sila nga mga reaction? JV. Correct siya. Kung hinge, you have two unknowns. Ano na siya nga mga reaction?
I don't know, sir, but I know that there's a two unknown.
Okay, good na siya, correct. Okay, sino makabulig kay GV para mabalaan niya kung ano ang unknown nga reaction? So, ma-ask ko anay. Yes, Miss Charlene. Yes.
X and Y, sir.
Okay, correct. That's reaction X and reaction Y. Thank you. So, correct, Miss Piasas. And si JV, kabalo siya nga duwa ang unknown. However, way siya kabalo kung ano ang unknown nga unod, which is muna subong reaction X and reaction Y for hinge. What about kung fixed support? Fixed ang iyaya nga support. Pila ka unknown ang ara sa fixed support? Okay, what about Miss Eliana Abaygar? Pila ka unknown ang ara sa aton nga fixed support? Miss Eliana? Okay. Yes, okay. Unang tani si Miss Eliana. Yes, Eliana.
Si Carla na lang, sir.
Si Carla, next na lang na. May ipamangkot ko siya. Okay.
Nag-hand
Pila.
raise man siya, no?
Guess lang ko, sir.
Okay, sure.
Sure. One lang, sir.
Kung fixed support,
Guess lang,
One.
sir. Guess.
okay. So, mambal ko, wrong. Okay, sino to? Yan Gia, no?
Sir.
Okay, pila.
Hindi, clear, sir. Pero
Try lang.
tandaan. 3, sir. 3 unknowns.
Yes, correct. Kung magsiling ka fixed support, you have 3 unknowns. Kung hinge, you have 2 unknowns. So, hinge, you have Rx and Ry. Okay, ang sugpon ko tani kung correct si Eliana, ang akon sugpon tani Gian, ano na siya nga mga unknowns nga tatlo sa imo nga fixed support. Try lang.
Wala na wala ko tandaan.
Okay, sige. Okay, no problem. Sige. Pero at least nag-try ka kag-correct man ang tatlo. What about Miss Kristia? Okay, wait. Si Alpha na lang anay. O sige, Miss.
Nabal lang dyan, biya. Post na ko na ang
Olivar.
2 kag 3.
Um,
Ara ko no online ka na
RX,
ang notes.
RY, kag equilibrium, sir.
Sa tatlong nga din-mention mo, duwa na dang correct.
Yes,
RX
sa course
and
of law.
RY. Hindi,
Hapos ko
ang
na
word
siyang
equilibrium, hindi na siya. Another
Mga
term
ang kabalo
para,
sa
yes,
Anong
Jeanette,
kamanami mo?
Moment, sir.
correct. So, ang aton nga fixed support, we have 3 unknowns, Rx, Ry, and moment. Amo na bala nga may ara ta nga beam nga ginatawag nga cantilever. Kabalo ka man na, kabati ka mo na last time. Cantilever. Kay ang unknown is tatlo. Amo na ang imo nga support which is fixed. A moment, a reaction at X, and reaction at Y. What about a ruler? Ila ka unknown, kag ano na siya? Ang imo nga reaction.
Roller.
Miss Krisha.
No, 1, sir.
Yes.
Vertical.
Vertical. Yes, correct. Error. Correct. 1 unknown. And correct man, Krisha. And ginanseran mo na pagid nga ang imo nga unknown nga isa is reaction along Y. Kay tungod ruler, kung kwaon mo ang support sa imo nga vertical, pwede gali ma-move ang imo nga horizontal tungod sang imo nga ginatawag nga ruler support, which means free to move horizontally. That's why wala ka sang reaction. Pero tungod ginfix mo saya vertically, amo na nga may ara ka sang reaction. So ginasummarize ko kay kabalo ko nalipat na kamo na. A hinge, you have 2 unknowns, reaction X and reaction Y. A ruler, you have 1 unknown and it is reaction along Y. Or dependent sa imo nga structure. Kung dakatakilid ang imo nga reading ruler, automatic it is horizontal and free naman ang imo nga vertical. Pero typically ang ruler amo ni ang iya nga position, which is ang iya vertical amo ang fixed, ang iya nga may support, and ang horizontal amo ang free to move. And ang fixed support tatlo, reaction X, reaction Y, and moment. And sa aton nga example, inambal to kagina determinate structure. Typically, magsining ka determinate structure, you have 2 support. Ang isa, a hinge, and ang isa naman niya is a ruler. Kay tungod, using equilibrium, amo to ang hambal tani ni Miss Olivar, equilibrium means you have 3 ka-equation na mga produce. Sa aton nga example, subong, a hinge and a ruler, kung nantawon mo, you have 3 ka-unknowns. Reaction B, reaction BX, and reaction D, which means you have 3 unknowns. And tungod determinate na ang imong structure, you have 3 ka-equilibrium nga equation. Ano na siya? Atong una gid nga gin-introduce kagina sa aton nga PDF file. Ang una is summation of moment at a specific point. typically, magkuha ka moment, ga-base ka sa support. It's either, sa aton example, point B or point D. Ang purpose, para pagkuha mo sang moment, equate mo sa 0, ang mabilin is isa lang ka-unknown. It's either RB or RD. Once na-solve mo na ang isa ka-unknown, another equilibrium. Summation of forces along X equate to 0. Tanan nga forces along X, isum up mo na. Ang nabilin nga unknown, amo na ang imo nga makuha nga value. Okay. Sa aton example, ano aton RBX? Amo ni ang may red nga arrow horizontally. Paglantaw mo pa lang sa aton nga given nga diagram, ano dayon ang imo mabalan sa aryo? Ang RBX. Ila ang iya nga value. Paglantaw mo pa lang ha, based sa diagram. Ma-ask ko, what about Christian, Mr. Bulido? Ano ang imo nga value sa imo di nga arrow, which is RBX? Christian Dio, para ka?
Sir. 5.
Yes. Ano ang value?
Flag.
Okay, after that, sino ito hands up? So, sige, try anay. Clear. May idea ka, Christian?
Wala, sorry.
Okay. Sige, what about Claire?
0, sir.
Okay. Kaya iko be simple explanation nga 0. Sa paglantaw mo pa lang.
Kay hindi ako mag-explain, sir.
Hindi. Sa totoo, ang mambal ko lang nga nakambal ka na yung 0. Okay, sino to? Eliana.
0, sir. Kay
Oo.
wala forces along X, sir.
Yes, correct. Ang wala na ang gusto ko nga isugpon mo, Claire. Nga 0, correct
Ano
na
to,
siya. Nga 0 ang imong RBX tungod based sa diagram pa lang, wala ta may makitaan nga horizontal force. So therefore, automatic nga si RBX, miski magsiling ka hinge na siya, ang imong nga RBX is equal to 0. And kung i-check mo dayon, duwa na lang
Hindi naman
imong nga
duduman
unknown, RB
100.
and RD. Okay? So thank you, Gid. So mas continue ta para makuha ta ang aton RB and RD. Thank you.
However, we don't have horizontal forces, so therefore RBX is equal to 0. Then, so summation of moment at B is equal to 0. So we will have the moment at B in order for us to eliminate RB because we don't have a distance which is equal to 0. So
Okay, yung sub ko na para ma-wonder ka mo nga nag-start ko din sa point B. Kung ako yaga design o nagahimo sang share and moment diagram, nag-start ko always mag-summation of moment sa left side nga support. Sa sini nga example, ang aton nga point B, amo ni ang in support, diri ko ya ma-start summation of moment at B and equate dayon sa 0. Pero kung ikaw yan na use kaya right side, pwede ka gid ka summation of moment at D ini para naman ang imo nga purpose para makuha mo naman ang RB. Kung summation of moment at B equate to 0, ang makuha mo na unknown is RD. Kay si RB ara mismo sa point B, which means ang imo nga moment arm magkuha ka sang moment RB times 0 nga distance. So ang imo nga unknown is RD. So summation of moment B is equal to 0, ang makuha mo din nga value is RD. Pero kung summation of moment at D, ang makuha mo naman nga value is RD. Pero the same na nagyapon ang dapat nga answer. Okay? Sige.
RB times 0 is equals to 0. So summation of moment at B, and we can find the value of reaction RD. First, usually start from the left, all loads from the left going to the right direction. So 30 kilonewton times the distance from A to B, which is 1 meter, and the direction of the 30 kilonewton is downward, and going to B is in this direction, which is counterclockwise. However, clockwise, the sign is always positive, while the direction is counterclockwise, the direction is always negative. And this point R or A going to B, the direction of 30 kilonewton is counterclockwise, so therefore it is a negative sign. Next, at point B, we have RB. As I've said, we don't have a value of distance which is equal to 0, so RB is eliminated. And next, we go to point C, which is a load 50 kilonewton. And 50 kilonewton, we multiply with the distance from C to B, which is 3 meters. And the direction from C to B, the direction is clockwise direction, and therefore the sign is positive. And the last point, which is D, and we have a reaction D. So RD, and the distance from D to B is 5 meters. So 5 meters. And the sign or the direction, it is counterclockwise, which is negative, and equate to 0. Then sum up. 5 RD we transpose to another side, and it is equal to negative 30 times 1 or negative 30 plus 150 times 3 or 150. And 5 RD is equals to negative 30 plus 150 is 120, and RD is equals to 120 over 5, and it is equivalent to 24 kilonewton. So RD is equal to 24 kilonewton. And after summing up based on moment, we will have the summation of forces along Y and equate it to 0. So all forces upward is positive, all forces downward are negative. So we have the first point, which is 30 kilonewton downward, so negative 30 kilonewton. Point B is positive RB, which is we are going to find the value. And point C, negative 50 kilonewton. And the last point, which is D, positive RD, and the value is 24 kilonewton. So RB, and equate it to 0. So RB is equal to, change the sign of all constants, which is 30 plus 50 minus 24. Plus 50 is 80 minus 24 is 56 kilonewton. So therefore, the reaction at B is equal to 56 kilonewton. So RD is equal to 24 kilonewton, and RB is equals to 56 kilonewton. So we
Okay. So, ang mutuang balkogina, nag-start tayo sa moment at point B para ma-eliminate ang duwa ka unknowns, which is RB and RBX. However, may ara na tayo sa value nga RBX, which is equal to 0. So, clockwise direction is positive, counterclockwise direction is negative. Start ta always sa left side. So, ang una ta nga load is 30 kilonewton. And ang moment arm, which is perpendicular sa imong load, from A pakadto sa B. And ang pinaka-shortest distance is 1 meter. And ang imong direction is downward sa 30 kilonewton. Ipakatuon mo na sa point nga himuan mo sang moment, which is at point B. Kung natawon mo, pakadto sa B, ang iya direction is counterclockwise. Amo na nga himo ka sa imo yang imo nga pag-interpret mo kung counterclockwise is negative, clockwise is positive. Kay tungod counterclockwise,
Dungan na.
patanta di, negative 30 times the moment arm nga 1. Ang point B, RB is
Sige na.
0, kay tungod ang aton nga moment or distance
Ang rep na sa
is
kusog.
0. Next, ang aton nga point C,
Sige
we
na.
have 50 kilonewton and ang aton moment arm pagkadto sa B nga distance is 3 meters and 50 times 3 and ang iya nga direction pagkadto sa B is clockwise direction, amo na nga nahimo positive. Next, we have D and ang D wala sang load except for the reaction at roller support or RD. And assume ta nga direction sa aton nga reaction is upward. Pagkadto sa B, the distance is 5 meters. So RD times 5 and T to B, ang direction pababaw pagkadto sa B, it is counterclockwise. Amo na nga naghimo negative sign. Kay tungod alin sa A pagkadto sa D nabutang ta na, automatic equate ta dayon sa 0. And simplify, nakuha ta dayon RD is equal to positive 24 kilonewton. Nga nag-mention kong positive. Kay tungod kung negative na di ang nakuha mo nga value, kag correct ni siya, correct ni, pero negative na di ang imo nga nakuha nga value, ang imo nga gin-assume nga direction nga pasaka, hindi na siya amo. Kung hindi, islan mo ang direction padalom. Ang reason para maupod mo siya, makorek mo dayon ang imo nga reaction B. Kaya tungod positive na nakuha ta nga value, ang assume ta nga RD nga direction upward is correct. Kag once nakuha ta na si RD, ang next ta nga equilibrium is summation of forces along Y equate to 0. Ang aton niya nga summation of forces along X is equal to 0. Amo ni ang RBX is equal to 0. Kaya tungod, wala sang forces along X. Automatic, no need na ta mag-himo summation of forces along X. So, kwaunta na ang aton nga isa ka unknown which is RB. So, summation of forces along Y equal to 0. Tanan nga forces down, negative. Tanan nga forces up, positive. And nakuha ta naman nga RB is 56 kilonewton positive. Automatic, it is correct ang aton nga assume nga direction sa aton reaction B. So amo na ni ang aton nga correct nga reaction RB and RD. Ang next, imuan mo na, i-plot mo na ang imo nga loads and reaction para makahimo ka na sang shear and moment.
We put RB, which is 56 kilonewton, and RD, which is 24 kilonewton. So we will now draw the shear and moment diagram. So this one, we have a grid line for shear, and this is for moment.
Kasi mali lang siya sang ano.
And the value for this is 0. And another for moment is also 0. First, we will find the shear values from A to D. So the procedure always start from the left. So we have at point A, and the point A, we have a concentrated load of 30 kilonewton. And start from 0, we have 30 kilonewton which is downward. And if we adjust, this is, for example, this is 30 kilonewton. So this is 30 kilonewton, and because it is downward, it is negative sign. Next, if we have a 30 kilonewton from point A, then we go to point B. But from A to B, we don't have any force or load. So therefore, the value for shear from A to B is the same from point A, which is negative 30 kilonewton, and will produce an horizontal line. And this is also negative 30 kilonewton at point B, which means from A to B, the shear value or the shear force value is negative 30 kilonewton. Then, At point B, we have RB, which is 56 kilonewton, and the direction is upward. From negative 30, we go up 56 kilonewton. So 56 kilonewton minus 30 is equivalent to 26 kilonewton. And the direction is upward, so therefore it is positive. So point or 26 kilonewton, and this is the point. And this is positive 26 kilonewton. From this point up to this point, it should be the total distance or the length. It should be the value of reaction B, which is 56 kilonewton. So 30 plus 26 is also 56 kilonewton. Next, from point C, from B to C, we don't have a uniform load or any load. Therefore, the shear force is the same at point B going to point C. And this is, and we'll have a horizontal line, which means this is also 26 kilonewton at point C. And then at point C, we have a concentrated load of 50 kilonewton. Then going downward, so 50 minus 26 is equal to 24 kilonewton. So from 26 going downward, this is negative 50 plus 26, and the value is negative 26 or 24 kilonewton. And this is the point, which is negative 24 kilonewton. Next. And the total length of this one is 26 plus 24 is equal to the force, which is 50 kilonewton. Then from C to D, we don't have a value or concentrated load. Therefore, the shear force is the same from point C up to point D. And we draw a straight line or horizontal line. And this is also negative 24 kilonewton. And then at point D, we have a reaction D, which is 24 kilonewton, and it is upward. From negative point 24, we go up 24 kilonewton, so which means 24 kilonewton minus 24, and the value is 0. And this is the point for point D. And so this is the shear values, and we'll make a shaded area for this one. And for shear values, we have a maximum value of, for V, which is a shear maximum, the maximum value for shear is negative 30 kilonewton. So we have now the shear values from A to D. Then we'll go to the moment. We can use the shaded area to find the moment values from every point of the beam. So first, we will designate every shaded area to area 1, area 2, and area 3. So we will designate this one as area 1, and this one is area 2, and this one is area 3. Then we solve per area using the formula. And area 1 shape is rectangle, and the value for base times height is equivalent to the base, which is the length of the beam from A to B, which is 1 meter. We multiplied by the height of the shear force, which is 30 kilonewton, and it is negative value. So negative 30 kilonewton, and this is 30 kilonewton meter, which is the moment. So area 2 is the rectangular shape from B to C, and the base for area 2 is the length 3 meters, and we multiply by the height of the shear force from B to C, which is 26 kilonewton, and it is positive. So 3 times 26 is equivalent to 78 kilonewton meter, and positive sign. So area 1 is negative, so negative 30 kilonewton meter. And last, area 3, which is rectangular shape, and from C to B. And the base is the distance from C to D, which is 2 meters. And the height is the shear force from C to D, which is 24 kilonewton. And the sign is negative. So negative 24 kilonewton. And it is equal to 2 times 24. It is equivalent to 48 kilonewton meter. And the sign is negative. So we have now compute the areas from A to B, B to C, and C to D. And then we plot from A, which is to the left, going to the right, which is at D. And we need to have a value of 0 at point A and the final value as at point D. And the value is also at 0 point. So we start at A. If we have draw a horizontal line, the next curve or line is the diagonal line, and we have area 1, which is equivalent to negative 30 kilonewton meter, and the value from A to B is negative 30, and we will put negative 30, which is also a kilonewton meter. And if we have from A to B a no load, and next should be the horizontal line, the next curve or line is diagonal. So from A, the direction is going to negative 30, which is a straight line or diagonal line. Next, from point B to point C, we have an area 2, which is 78 kilonewton meter. And 78 kilonewton meter is positive with a value of B, which is negative 30. So 78 minus 30 is equivalent to 48 kilonewton meter. And the value for 48 kilonewton meter is at point C. So we have positive. So therefore, this is the point. And this is 48 kilonewton meter. And we have no load, horizontal line. The next line or curve is a diagonal from B to C. We connect negative 30, the point at B, to positive 48, which we located the value for at point C. And this is the point at C. We have 48 kilonewton meter. And the last area is area 3. And the area 3 is negative 48 kilonewton. So 48 kilonewton minus 48 is equal to 0. And no load from C to D, horizontal line, and the next line is diagonal, which means 48 kilonewton up to 0. So 48, a straight line diagonal, and we need to close the moment, and we have a value of 0. We shaded area. Okay, so we can now determine the maximum moment for this diagram. So the maximum moment in this diagram is 48 kilonewton meter, which means these are the maximum values for shear, Maximum value for shear is negative 30 kilonewton, and the maximum moment is equal to 48 kilonewton.
Okay. So, review tali what? Ang aton nga nakuha nga reaction at B is 56 kilonewton. Reaction at D is 24 kilonewton. So, always start sa left side. So, point A, start ka sa imong nga shear, 0. 30 kilonewton ang imong nga concentrated load, always downward. So, namina, halin sa 0, pagkato sa dalom, negative 30. And katungod wala di load from A to B, ang imong nga negative 30, makontinue na sa, and mahimo na sa horizontal line. Which means from A to B, ang imong nga shear kunoy is negative 30. Next, from B, mayara ka naman sang RB nga 56 which is upward. So kay tungod negative 30, i-minus mo. So 56 minus 30, ang mabilin is positive 26. Ara above sa aton nga shear line. And from B to C, wala naman ta load. Automatic, ang aton shear is the same value. So 26 na maga-form sa horizontal line. Paglabot sa point C, mayara naman ta sang 50 kilonewton downward. So 26 minus kay downward minus 50 or mahimo sa negative 24 kilonewton. And halin naman sa D, C pagkadto sa D, wala naman ta load. Automatic ang imong nga shear is the same value sa C which is negative 24. So automatic horizontal line. And at D, negative 24 kilonewton, mayara naman ta sang reaction D nga 24 kilonewton positive. And isum up mo, mahimo sa 0. So ang shear diagram is na-close ta from left sang aton nga beam pagkadto sa right sang aton nga beam, and nakuha ta ang 0 value. And i-shade na ang aton nga area per cut from A to B, B to C, C to D. Hindi ta pwede ka continue nga B to D kay tungod mayara ta sang load at C which is 50 kilonewton. So, area 1 is a rectangle. So, 30 times the length sa aton nga AB which is 1 meter. Amo ni negative 30 kilonewton meter. And nga negative katungod below sa aton nga shear line. So, negative ang imo nga area 1. Area 2 is above sa imo nga shear line and ang imo nga shear is 26 positive. I-times mo naman sa imo nga distance ng BC which is 3 meter or 78 kilonewton meter and positive. And last, ang aton area 3 is a rectangle. So mayara naman ta negative 24 kay below sa aton horizontal line or sa aton nga shear line, and i-multiply ta naman sa length sang CD which is 2 meters and mayara ta negative 48 kilonewton meter. And area 1, area 2, area 3 iplata na hasta makakuha ta sa aton nga moment sa D nga dapat almost 0 ang imo nga value. So start ta sa aton A, always man ta ma-start 0 and no load, horizontal line. Ang next mo na is diagonal. Kay ma-start ka 0 pagkadto sa B, ang area 1 is negative 30. So makadto ka sa B which is negative 30. I-connect mo ang 0 pagkadto sa negative 30. That's why nag-form siya diagonal line. And from B to C, mayara ta area 2. Ang area 2 is positive 78. I-minus na sa aton to nga area 1 which is negative 30. Ang mabilin is positive 48 and ara naman sa point C. So above naman sa aton nga moment line. And area 3. Ang aton area 3 is negative 48. So 48 sa C pagkadto sa aton nga D nga area 3, ang iya nga value is 0, which means na-close ta ang aton nga moment. And kuhaon ta ang aton nga maximum V and maximum moment. Ang aton maximum V is either positive siya or negative. Either of the two, basta taas ang iyang value. So 26 kilonewton or 30 kilonewton negative, which means ang aton nga maximum value for shear is negative 30 kilonewton. meaning sa negative, ang aton nga shear sa aton nga sini nga area ay compression. Kay kung positive na di imo nga shear value, it is in tension na mina ginabutong. Kung compression, gina-compress. So amo na ang meaning sa negative sign. Pero ang imo nga need is the value nga pinakadako sa tanan nga shear halin sa A pakadto sa D. Same man sa aton nga maximum moment M, negative 30 or positive 48, which means ang aton usaron is maximum M nga 48 kilonewton meter. So amo na ni ang aton nga final answer sa aton nga problem number 1. Any question? So buong aton problem 1, basic lang na. Yes, Gian.
Question lang ko, sir.
Ah.
Medyo hindi ko kaintindi. Ang sa may moment, bala, sir, na diagram na, sir,
Mm-hmm.
nang, di ba, sa first, so, nag-diretso ta negative 30k, wala ka force sa x na axis, sir. Then, paglabot sa 48, bala, sir, di ba, nag-minus ta kay sa 8 to 78 iyang total. Then, nag-minus sa 30, so, nag-48. Na, sir, nag-0 na lang, nawala. Tapos, sir, nag-minus, negative 24 sa 48, sir.
Hindi. Ari, ano no? Ang point C, 48. Nagets mo niya, 48. Tama?
Sir.
Okay. Nga naging mo 0. Amo na namin mo?
Sir.
Okay. Kang aton area 3, hindi 24, kundi negative 48.
Ay, okay.
So 48 minus area 3. Hindi ka mag-base sa 24 na negative. So 48 minus area 3, which is negative 48, or 48 minus 48, it is 0. Amo na nga na-close ta ang aton nga moment diagram.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Thank you, Gid. Okay, mga mo na nga question mga basic pero ma-mislook mo, sala ka na dayon. Ano pa? Mga question. So far, nan? Intindihan? Basic lang niya. So expect ya nga mas may budlay pagid sa sunod nga problem. Ang next nga problem niya, may ata concentrated load and may ata continuous nga uniform load. So mas komplikado pero dapat ta intindiyon. Kay sa sunod taya kung nasa mga seat work sa quiz ta or sa exam, miski may concentrated man da, may uniform load, hindi ka na magtalang. Basta kabalo ka lang sang basic. Okay, so continue ta sa aton nga problem number 2.
Meter. So this is how you
beam. So we have a beam from A to C with a uniform load of 10 kilonewton.
Siya.
Sir, di ba ito ginasolve pa na ang two area sa moment na, sir? Nga wala ta nag-solve. Subong, sir.
Wala ko lang in-solve. Kaya wala man sa aton nga problem.
Okay.
Okay? Good man na siya. Pero hindi lang na magpadalom. Kaya kung mag face-to-face, mabudayan pagid. Okay? Sige. So, continue ta.
Newton per meter. And a concentrated load at point P, which is 80 kilonewton. And a reaction at A, or RA, and a reaction at C, or RC. So now we have a diagram, and we identify this first as shear, and we designate it as zero value shear, and the other one is moment. And also zero value, we will get the reaction RA and RC using first the summation of moment, which is, for me, I'll be using a point A to eliminate the value RA, and the remaining unknown is the RC. So summation of moment at A is equal to 0. From A to B, we have a uniform load of 10 kilonewton, and then we will get the resultant. So this is A to B, which is 10 kilonewton per meter, and the resultant halfway of the length of AB, which is equivalent to 1 meter. And this resultant is equal to the uniform load, 10 kilonewton per meter, multiplied by the length of AB, which is 2 meters, or 2 meters, and it is equivalent to 20 kilonewton. We have also B to C, and from B to C, we have 8 meters length and a uniform load of 10 kilonewton per meter. We get the resultant of BC of the uniform load, and we should designate it like this. And this is equivalent to 10 kilonewton per meter divided by the total length of BC, which is 8 meters, or the resultant of BC is equal to 80 kilonewton. And the distance is also halfway of BC, which is half of 8 meters or 4 meters. From AB, we have a resultant of 20 kilonewtons. So 20 kilonewton, then multiplied by the distance from the resultant to A, which is 1 meter, and the direction of the resultant of AB is clockwise direction, so therefore it is a positive sign. At point B, we have a concentrated load of 80 kilonewton. So 80 kilonewton, and the distance from B to A is 2 meters. And the direction of 80 kilonewtons is downward, and it is clockwise direction, therefore it is positive sign. Then, from B to C, we have a uniform load, and the resultant is equivalent to 80 kilonewton. So 80 kilonewton multiplied by the distance of the resultant to B, which is 4 meters, and the direction of the resultant of BC, which is a uniform load, is also clockwise direction, so therefore it is a positive sign. At point C, we have a reaction C. So reaction C, RC, and the distance from C to A is 8 plus 2 or 10 meters. So this is 10 meters, and the direction of RC, upward direction, which is counterclockwise, therefore it is negative sign and equal to 0. Simplify. So 20 times 1 is 20 plus 80 times 2 is 160 plus 80 times 6 is equivalent to 480, then minus 10 RC, which is equivalent to 0. Sum up 20 plus 160 plus 480, and the total is 660 minus 10 RC, which is equal to 0. RC is equal to 660 all over 10, or RC is equivalent to 66 kilonewton. So we have a reaction RC, which is 66 kilonewton, and the direction is upward direction. Next, after the summation moment, we can use the summation of forces along Y and equate it to 0. So all forces along Y, we sum up and equate it to 0. So we have RA, the unknown value. So RA, and the assumed value or direction is upward, therefore it's positive. Then from A to B, we have a uniform load, and the resultant is 20 kilonewtons. We add up 20 kilonewton, and the direction is downward, therefore it is negative sign. At point B, we have 80 kilonewton. So we have 80 kilonewton, and the direction of 80 kilonewton is downward also, so therefore it is a negative sign. Next, from B to C, we have a uniform load of 10 kilonewton per meter, and the resultant is equivalent to 80 kilonewton, and the direction is downward. So this is 80 kilonewton also, and the direction is downward, so sign is negative. And the last point, C, we have RC, and we found the value, which is 66 kilonewton, and the direction RC is upward, so therefore it is a positive sign, and equate it to 0. So we have RA and change that to 20 plus 80 plus 80 minus 66. And the value for RA, so 20 plus 80 is 100 plus 80 is 180 minus 66. And the value for RA is equal to 114 kilonewtons. So this is the value for RA, which is 114 kilonewton and going upward.
Okay. So, nakita nyo, the same gapon konsepto sa aton nga problem number 1, except lang nga may ara na ta sang uniform load from A to B and B to C. So, ginimo ta kay tungod in every point nga may ara sang change like nagdugang ka load, automatic may ara ka na sang imong nga diagram nga ibutang or line. So, sa case ta, ang aton uniform load is from A to C, continuous na. Pero kay tungod may ara ta sa point B nga 80 kilonewton, nag-stop ta di. And may mo ta di sang aton nga line. And ginkuha ta ang A to B nga uniform load and naghimo sa resultant. So 10 ang aton uniform load, i-times ta diyon sa distance sa AB nga 2, amo na ang aton nga 20 kilonewton as resultant. And ang resultant is always 1/2 of the length sang AB, which is 1 meter. And amo ning purpose mo para makuha ka sa imong nga summation of moment. And from B to C, mayara naman ta dayon sa aton uniform load nga 10 and gin-multiply ta naman sa 8 meter. And ginkuha ta naman ang resultant, which is 80 kilonewton, and half man sang aton nga BC, amo naman na ang distance pakadto sa B. Resultant pakadto sa B, which is 4 meter. And ginkuha ta ang summation of moment at A equal to 0. Ang aton nga 20 kilonewton gin-multiply sa 1 meter. Kay tungod ang direction pakadto sa A is clockwise, positive. Ang 80 gin-multiply ta sa distance nga 2 and ang direction is also clockwise, so positive. And ang aton nga resultant nga 80 and ang distance is 4 plus 2 pakadto sa A or 6 meter. And ang direction is also clockwise, so positive man. And ang aton nga RC is clockwise, counterclockwise direction and negative. Ang distance from C to A is 2 plus 8 or 10 meters. So nakuha ta ang aton RC, positive 66 kilonewton and it is upward direction. So correct ang aton nga assumed nga direction. And kwaon ta dayon ang summation of forces along y equal to 0. So tanan nga forces downward is negative, tanan nga forces upward is positive. So RA is positive ang aton sign. Negative 20 is the resultant, downward. 80 kilonewton is downward, so negative. And 80 kilonewton downward for the resultant, negative. And ang aton nga RC, which is upward or positive. And equate to 0. So RA is 114 kilonewton and it is upward direction. Importante nga correct ang imong nga RC kag RA kay pag-plot mo sa shear diagram ma-zero ginaya. Pero kung sala imo RC, sala mo imo RA, once isa di sa ila sala, automatic the other reaction is also wrong. For example, ang RC mo di is 60. Definitely ang RA mo is 120. Pag-plot mo na karon sa shear, correct na siya. Ma-zero na siya gyapon. 0 pakadto sa 0. Di mo mabalaan nga sala ka kay hindi mo ma-close ang imo nga moment diagram halin sa A 0 pakadto sa C 0. So once hindi gani ma-close ang imo moment diagram, i-check ang imo nga shear. Once correct man, i-check liwat ang imo nga reaction nga value. And typical nagakasala ang estudyante mag-solve tungod sala ang ilang nga reaction. Din sila gasala diri sa sign. Kisaga negative na di or ang isa na di positive, ang isa negative. So dira pa lang sala na, the rest sala. Maski nas close mo pa si shear diagram. Okay?
So, continue ta.
We put the value here. RA is equals to 114 kilonewton and RC is equivalent to 66 kilonewton. We have the reactions value, which RA is equal to 114 kilonewton and RC 66 kilonewton. We start at 0 to the left, and from point A, we have a reaction A, which is 114 kilonewton, and it is upward. So the direction is from 0 up to 114. And this is, for example, a 114 based on the graph, and this is RA. Then, from A to B, we have a uniform load, and the resultant is 20 kilonewton, which means downward direction. So we will compute the values of 114 minus 20, or equivalent to 94 kilonewton. The value for 94 kilonewton will be at point B, and it will drop 20, and the value is 94. So this is 94 kilonewton. From the uniform lobe, which is horizontal, we will connect the points A to B, and we will have a diagonal line. So point A to B, and that's the connection from A to B, which is from 111 or 114 kilonewton to 94 kilonewton. At point B, we have 80 kilonewton, and the direction is downward, which means we change or we subtract 94 kilonewton to 80, and the remaining value is 14 kilonewton. And this is the point. So this is 14 kilonewton, which means from 14 to 94, this is the concentrated load of 80 kilonewton. We have a uniform load from B to C, which is 10 kilonewton per meter, and the resultant is 80 kilonewton. We drop again because the direction is downward, and the value is 14 minus the downward direction of 80, which means you have a value of negative 66 kilonewton, and it will be at point C. So the destination is point C, and this is the value for C, and designate this as negative 66 kilonewton. We connect the point from B to C from 14 kilonewton to negative 66. So we form a line. That's it. And at point C, we have a reaction C, which is 66 kilonewton, and negative 66 kilonewton. The RC direction is positive, so upward direction is positive, and 66 kilonewton, and equate to 0. So therefore, our shear diagram closes at 0. We need to shade first here, okay. Then the small one, and the big triangle. We need to identify first the area to find the moment. So based on AB, and we have here a trapezoid. So designate this as area 1. And from B up to 0 shear at this point, and designate this as X distance. And also the triangle, the small triangle, designate as area 2. And the big triangle below is area 3. So let's find the value of X using the ratio and proportion. So by using the ratio and proportion, we have here, we transfer here, we have 14 kilonewton, this one, and This is negative 66 kilonewton. So this blue one is the area 2 and area 3. And this will be distance x. Okay, so we will use the ratio and proportion of the small triangle, this one, to the big triangle because they have the same angle. The length here is equal to 8 meters. This one is 8 meters. The ratio and proportion of the small triangle and the big triangle, we have the height, which is 14 for the small triangle over this one, over x, the base, is equal to the big triangle, this one, and the height is the total length of 14 plus, this is 14 plus 66, or total of 80. So this is 80 all over total length of the big triangle, which is 8 meters, or x is equals to 14 times 8 divided by 80, with x is equal to, so let's check. So 14 times 8 divided by 80 is equivalent to 1.4 meter. So the distance from B at to 0 share is equal to 1.4 meters. And the remaining distance is 6.6 meters. Okay, we have solved the value x, which means we can solve now the areas. And first one, we will solve the area 1. And the area 1 is a quadrat, and the area 1 is a trapezoid, which means the formula for a trapezoid, it is 1/2 of the two bases, so b1 plus b2 times height. And for this case, the two bases are 114 and 94, and the height is the distance 2 meters. So we have 1/2 of the two bases of a trapezoid of area 1, which is 114, plus the other side, which is 94, and multiplied by the height or the distance 2 meters. And then area 1 is solve. 114 plus 94 is equals to 208 divided by 2 times 2, or 208 kilonewton meter. Next, area 2. The area 2, area 1 is above, which means positive. So 208 kilonewton meter is a positive moment. Next, area 2, a small triangle. And the formula for triangle is 1/2 of base times height. And 1/2 of the base, which is the distance x, or 1.4 times the height, or the shear force of 14 kilonewton. And the area 2 so 14 times 1.4 divides to 2, and the value is 9.8 kilonewton meter. And the sign is positive because it is above the shear line. Next, area 3. And the area 3 is the big triangle below. And we have the same formula, 1/2 of the base times height, or 1/2 of the base, which is the distance 6.6, multiplied by the height of the shear of the triangle, which is 66, and equal to 6.6 times 66 divided by 2, or 217.8 kilonewton meter. So now we solve the three areas. Area 1, 208 kilonewton meter. Area 2, 9.8 kilonewton meter. And area 3, 217.8 kilonewton meter. So now we plot and we start to the left at 0 point or 0 moment value. So we start and we have a positive value of area 1, which is 208 kilonewton meter, and the designate is 1, and this is 208 kilonewton meter. The shape of the moment at
Okay, ma-stop to anay. Ang pamangkot ko lang is ano ang shape sa aton nga moment once halin sa horizontal line, diagonal, and ano ni nga shape ang sa aton nga moment. Halin sa A to B lang. Sino makasabat? Anyone? Yes, Janelle.
Ma-curve sa sir.
Yes, correct. Ma-curve siya. Okay. May ara sang duwa ka curve. It is concave upward or concave downward. Sino makasabat kung concave upward or concave downward ang aton nga area 1 based sa aton nga shape sa aton nga shear sa aton A, B. Are, 114 kag 94. Ano ang shape? Upward or downward nga concave? Sino makahatag reason or answer? Okay, volunteer. Okay lang. Okay, okay. Si Era nagambal. Concave upward. Sino pa? Yes, Janelle.
Downward sir. Dugo pa letter L.
Okay, downward. Which means curve na siya, pero gakulob ang curve. Ang upward, amo na sang duga smile. Kung upward, amo na siya. Kung downward, gakulob. Curve na siya gapon. So, ang correct, concave downward, Janelle. Wrong, Miss Era, Padernal. Kaya ang aton, it should be concave downward. Okay. Ang isa ko tani ka pamangkot is nga concave or paano mo mabalaan nga concave downward sa sini nga diagram.
Si correct.
Gin-mention ko na to, ara to ang clue kagina. Atong 114 kilonewton pakadto sa 94 kilonewton. Once correct kada makaintindi ka na nga pakulob ang imong curve. Sige, try lang. Yes, Miss Obaldo. Shia.
Bakit sir?
Anong liwat?
Paano ang value?
Gapa?
Paano po ang value ng number pala?
Yes, correct. Ang imo nga basis para makambal ka concave downward is ma-base ka from A to B. Ang imo nga shear force sa A is 114 and then gapanubo pakadto sa 94. Once ang imo nga shear force from left to right nagapanubo, ang imo nga curve is concave downward. Pero kung ang imo nga curve, ang imo gali nga shear sa wala is 114 and pakadto sa B is 200, ang imo nga curve is concave upward. Namina, increasing ang imo nga shear value, automatic it is upward or concave downward. Okay, correcto, Miss Shia. Okay, sino makahatag sa aton nga curve pakadto sa B, from B pakadto sa X distance? Is it concave upward or concave downward? Okay, maas naman ko kay Miss Escaro. concave upward or concave downward halin sa B pagkadto sa 1.4 meters nga x distance.
Ano po gani, sir? What a question, sir?
Ano nga curve ang usarunta from point B pagkadto sa x distance nga 1.4 meter? Is it concave upward or concave downward?
Concave downward, sir.
Okay, tungod. Gailang ko reason, gamay lang. Bago ko lang na-explain. Ano gali ang iyang shear force halin sa B pagkadto sa x distance? Descending or ascending ang iyang value?
Descending, sir.
Yes, correct. Descending. Tama. So, ang basis mo para makambal ng concave downward, kung ang imo nga, yes, Jasmine.
Kung imo shear force sir from left to right, nagpa-downward, imo moment, nagpa-downward concave, sir.
Yes, correct. Tama. Once ang imo nga shear force is nagapanubo, halin sa wala, take note, halin sa left side, pagkato sa right side, it is concave downward. Pero kung ang imo nga shear force is gapa-increase or increasing, halin sa wala, pagkato sa right side, it is concave upward. So, correcto, Miss Angeli, ang imo nga Angelia, ang imo nga answer, and si Miss Jasmine. Okay, so continue ta para sa aton nga curve or final
That
moment.
is area from horizontal, which is a uniform node, to a diagonal, and the next shape is the curve. And how would you know that it's a concave upward or concave downward? When the shear diagram is increasing, which means going up, the moment diagram is concave upward. When the shear diagram is decreasing, the moment diagram is concave downward. So in this case, the shear is decreasing from A to B. So therefore, the shape or the curve is concave downward. And concave downward is from 0 to 208. And this one. And that's the curve from A to B at area 2. And the area 2 is positive, which is 9.8 kilonewton meter. So we add up the area 1 plus area 2 to find the moment at this point. The moment is equal to area 1 plus area 2, which is 208 plus 9.8 or equivalent to 217.8. And this one is the point, and this is 217.8 kilonewton meter. And the direction of the shear is downward from point B up to 1.4 meters, and the shear is decreasing. So therefore, it is also concave downward. Next, at this point, up to point C, we have an area P, which is 217.8, and it is a negative value, so therefore this one is negative. So 217.8 less 217.8 of area T, and the value is 0. And we connect from point 1.4 meter up to C, and the shear force or the shear values are decreasing, so therefore the shape is concave downward. And this one, and this is concave downward. And we shade it. And now we can have the maximum shear and maximum moment. So B maximum is the maximum value at share diagram, which is 114 kilonewton positive. So 114 kilonewton is the maximum share, while the maximum moment is equal to 217.8 kilonewton meters. So this is 217.8 kilonewton meter.
Kibot sir.
Moment is equal to 217.8 kilonewton meters. So this is 217.8 kilonewton
Tapos na eh.
meter.
Okay. So nakuha ta na ang aton nga maximum share and maximum moment. Ari aton nga i-explain ko lang ni ang magkuha bala sang aton nga ratio and proportion. Once may ara gani ga cross halin sa upper or share force
Alarm
positive
clock.
and mag-cross sa aton nga zero share and pagkato sa dalom may ma-produce ta na nga zero share which mahimo ta makakuha ta sang aton nga x distance. Kay ilocate na kung ano ang aton nga zero share sa sini nga problem. So sa case ta, inkuhaan ta sang x distance using the ratio and proportions ng small triangle and big triangle. So small triangle, amo ni ang aton 14 kilonewton and ang aton distance is x, while ang aton big triangle is the total distance halin sa 14 pakadto sa 66 or 80. Din okay, isa ka clue para masapos sa inyong pagid mag-solve. Once maghimo ka sang imong ratio and proportion. Ang 80 kilonewton ang imong nga clue ma-base ka sa imong nga uniform load from B to C, which is amo ni ang resultant. Ang length from B to C is 8 meters. So 80, the resultant sa uniform load from B to C, i-divide sa length sang BC. And equate kung ano na di ang value, 14, and i-divide ta dayon sa x distance para makuha ta dayon ang aton nga value nga 1.4 meter. And paano ta nakuha si 6.6 meter? 8 meters minus 1.4 meter. Amo na niya ang aton nga nabilin 6.6 meter. Para maka-form ta sa aton nga area 3, which is a triangle. Area 2 is also a triangle, while ang aton area 1 is a trapezoid. So the formula for a trapezoid is 1/2 of base 1 plus base 2 times height. Ang height is equivalent to the length sa aton nga distance AB. Ang aton nga duha ka bases, B1 and B2, amo ni ang aton nga shear force nga value, which is 114 and 94. So amo na mag-solve sang aton nga shear and moment diagram. Para ang purpose para makuha ta ang aton nga maximum shear and maximum moment, or may possibility nga ginaas sa aton question i-locate ang stress sa next na nga topic kung ano ang stress halfway sa imo nga BC, which is RD sa 4 meters. Then mabase ka sa imo di nga diagram kung diin na di ang imo nga point and ano ang shear value kag ano ang moment nga value. Amo na siya nga importante ang shear and moment because magkuha ta sa stresses at any point from A to C, masolve ta dayon. Kay tungod kabalo na ta sang aton nga value for moment and shear. Any question, clarification, or may idugang kamo para sa aton nga lesson? Mas klaro subong? Mas klaro no kay nga gapamati na kamo. Tungod may face-to-face na nga exam and quiz. Okay, so kung wala question, please check your Google. Yes, mas klaro sir kay lawig na time. Yes, correct it Kyle. I-compare to sa last time na 1 hour and a half, hindi na ko ka-explain. Kaya dugay atag na ko sit work or the next nga meeting, sit work na ta or quiz. Yes, JB.
Kasunod sa lang itong ok.
Okay. Sige. Okay. Please check ang inyong Google Classroom para sa aton seat work number 1. We have 2 questions. Ang aton nga time is until 7 p.m. tonight. Ubos gid ang time ta no? Okay lang na kay tungod last week wala man ta ka klase. And make sure nga i-pass nyo ang inyong file in PDF or Word file. Kung more than 2 pages. Kung isa lang ka page ang imong solusyon, pwede na sa JPEG nga file. Para kung mag more than 2, i-convert it into PDF file or Word file. Depende na sa inyo kung ano ka mo, din ka mo mas hapusan mag-insert sang picture. Okay, please turn on your webcam para sa aton nga seat work and at the same time attendance. And 29 ka mo or 30 ka mo nagsulod, check tanay. And 32 ka mo sa section A. Yes, 32. So may ara isa or duwa nga absent. Or maybe naghalin lang or nagwa lang. Okay, smile bi anay para for attendance para pwede na kamo din ka-continue sa inyong seat work. Okay, wala pang iban. And smile. 1, 2. Okay, thank you, Ged. Continue na kamo da.
Wala ko naka-on eh. Shit ka. Let ko. Oo. Ulit kasi. Kabalas.
Sakay na daw ka? Ay,
Wala gani.
wala ka papili naman. Beside me. Ano sih itu? Ayan. Ay, kigarekod. Pagkatihan ko dalag ka.